Welcome to the Unbroken tutorial. I'm about to reveal to you a couple of secrets that I kept myself for years. When I first was sort of traveling the world and lecturing to magicians, this is one of these things I'd throw in my lectures sometimes and would often not even explain it. Back then, as a younger guy, I think I sort of liked the ego of, frying people and not explaining it even in a lecture kind of thing. But more recently, I have put it in my lecture and shared it, and it's one of these things that almost always fools magicians and lay people. And just think about the idea of it for a second, just the premise, and it's so important to not get caught thinking like a magician with all these kinds of things. The idea of being able to take a bottle cap, okay? And being able to take the bottle cap, and there's actually a little bit of soda water, still now, being able to take the bottle cap and smash it through the bottom so it's sitting inside. I mean, that's amazing. There's no question. That's a beautiful visual, just that. Then being able to get a shake and having it melt out and they can see the bottle is empty. The cap clearly came through. It's literally the only thing in your hand. First they see it in here, then it comes through out here, then you hit it back inside, and then, I mean, even if you couldn't hand out the bottle, it would still be an amazing trick. And in fact, when you think about it, and you'll perform this yourself and find out, people are already oohing and eyeing and gasping. They're not like they're scientists that are only waiting to examine the bottle. Also, the notion of a gimmicked bottle doesn't make a lot of sense to people, particularly since it looks, in this case, a Perrier bottle, looks exactly like the kind of bottle they probably have in their fridge or whatever. But the fact that at the end, you can then hand this out with the cap still inside as a souvenir, it is crazy. For many, many years, the only thing magicians really could pass inside a bottle was a coin, a quarter, that was specially cut with a rubber band around it called a folding coin. And, you'd be able to smash that in, and then you always had to kind of shake it. You couldn't hand it out to be examined, or people couldn't break the bottle to examine, these kinds of things. So this is a big step forward, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Now, before we jump into the mechanics and the method, I'm going to tell you right now, it will take some practice. There's some tricky timing. Now, if you watch the performance, though, you'll agree, I'm sure, it looks damn good. I mean, it looks like the cap is in the bottle because the cap really is in the bottle. Then it looks like the bottle is absolutely empty and you're not using any, black art or, have to cover things up. It's super fair looking. It's all very natural. However, there will take some practice. Okay, it's not an super easy trick. And the setup on it is a little bit complicated, which you'd kind of expect. I mean, in magic, nothing's free. So often, the real foolers, the most deceptive stuff that deceives other magicians even, is going to be stuff where the setup's a little bit more complicated. So the bad news is that you're going to see that the setup on this is a little bit complicated. The good news is, because it's a little bit more complicated, far fewer other magicians will be performing this effect. So you take some time, practice this, be willing to, choose the right moment when to perform this, and you're going to have something very, very exclusive and very special. For this, you're going to need a bottle. Now, I almost only use a tinted bottle. Green or brown beer bottle, or sometimes I even found blue bottles. A tinted bottle will help a great deal, make it more deceptive. If you're going to go with a clear bottle, it's better to do it in a situation that's not as well lit. I'll tell you that right now. But a clear bottle, and if not, like I said, you can go a beer bottle, you can go pop bottle. This is a water bottle, a Perrier. And this is perfect, okay, because it's not too long, it's kind of short, and it's a nice tinted bottle. So first you need an ordinary bottle, ideally a tinted glass bottle, okay? You could do this with plastic, but I prefer the glass. The sounds are so much better with the cap. Second, you're going to need 2 bottle caps. Now, do not notice that Perrier comes with a different style of cap. Don't get caught, again, thinking like a magician. Any 2, what do I have here? I'm using Pop Shop caps, okay? So, remember, to say to a layperson, here's a bottle and here's a bottle cap, watch me do some freaking miracle, is fine. It's not like, hey, how come that cap doesn't match that bottle brand? No one cares, okay? So 2 caps. You're also going to need a wooden spoon. And I'm not joking. If you've seen my videos before, you know I'm often saying silly things, and you'd think, okay, he's joking about the spoon, right? Next, he's going to say you also need a rabbit's paw, or someone who can translate from the original Yugoslavian, but I'm not. You need a wooden spoon. A wooden spoon, you'll be able to come up with some substitutes for the wooden spoon, but right now, a wooden spoon is the easiest thing to find, okay? So 2 caps, bottle, wooden spoon, a bit of tape, okay? And then finally, the gimmick. Now, the gimmick you may have already in your house, okay? But I deliberately wanted to make sure you had someone ready to go. When you purchase this, I wanted to make sure I included it. And I'm going to tell you right now, not all black thread is created equal. Okay, I included some what I would call my favorite black thread. I've sourced about 4 different kinds of this black thread over the years. This is my favorite source. Some black thread's a teeny bit shiny. Okay, this is, I mean, it just looks like ordinary black thread, but some's a bit shiny. You want some dead thread. You want thread that sort of, there he is. You want thread that shines as little as possible. Okay, you also want thread that's not too thick. I've had to find some thread that's really thick, and it's going to be more apt to be seen, okay? But I also found really thin thread that's weak, that sometimes will snap in the handling. I don't want that either. So the thread I've included, again, I'm not telling you it's super valuable thread. It's just you might have a hard time sourcing thread quite so good as the stuff I've included, okay? It's thin, no shine, and it's strong, okay? You're going to need that. So those are all the stuff you're going to need to prepare for this crazy, really freakish, amazing trick. Excuse the checkerboard pattern on this coffee table and my shorts. It's very hot here in Toronto, so I'm wearing shorts and a table that looks like something from a French kids show. I know, it really does. So take one of the caps. Okay, first thing we're going to do. So we're going to take one end. What do I have? Right now I have, just for starters here, I have about 2 feet of black thread. Okay, 2 feet. And you're going to have to, it will take some trial. It actually has to do with the length of your arms and all these things. There'll be some trial. There'll be definitely some experimentation, but it's so worth it. So take an end, one end, okay? There it is, one small end of the thread. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to attach it to the cap with a small piece of tape. Now, clear tape against the bottle cap is absolutely invisible, but I'm going to tell you now, you do not want, when you attach the thread on here, okay, with a piece of tape. That's what I've just done there, okay? Now what I do is I don't press super hard. I don't press super hard on the tape, okay? I also don't, it's more of a tap, tap, tap. Just a tapping gesture, because I want the tape to hold on the cap, but I also want it with a nice little tug. I want the thread, I want the tape's going to stay on there for the whole trick, okay? But I want the thread with a firm tug to come loose of the cap, but I still want it to be able to have a good hold on the cap. So somewhere between a nice hold and something that if you tug, 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 it would never come loose. So just that's why practice has told me just a little tap, all right? Now, next. I'm going to take the bottle cap and I'm going to bend it a little bit with my finger. I'm going to press down here, holding it with finger and thumb on the edge, and bend it a little bit right in the middle of the cap. There we go. You're going to find that once it starts to bend, there we go. Once it starts to bend, and there's a shot of that cap starting to bend a bit. Once it starts to bend, it's very easy to squeeze it shut, to fold it completely flat, but you don't want to do that. What you want to do is squeeze it, okay? Just enough. I'm going to do a little bit more. So now I've done it about this much. Let me show you. I've done it about that much, okay? So you can see it resting on my hand. It's bent a bit, okay? Just enough that I can now take this and squeeze it through the bottle. So what I want to do, and I'm going to push down on it, and you're going to hear and see it jump inside, okay? So I want to bend it as little as I can to get it inside, and of course the thread is attached, okay? You can. Next, here comes the wooden spoon thing, because what I'm going to do now is make sure that you can, I think you can see it here if I turn it a bit. It is now lying with the brand uppermost, okay? So the crown, the teeth of the bottle cap are now facing downward, okay? Because I'm going to come over with this wooden spoon, press down, and with a couple of carefully placed bends, I'm going to be able to flatten the bottle cap, okay? All these techniques come together here, and here's something else that will take a little bit of practice, okay? I push down there, I push down there, little push. I just spent about 30 seconds pressing down with the spoon. You got to be careful. I want you to see that, though. You can see that now the bottle cap is almost completely flat, okay? It's gone from that bent sort of taco shape that now it's almost completely flat, and all I did is use the wooden spoon, okay? And again, the whole thing, the key is to make sure that the top of the cap is facing uppermost, and then you press, press, press with the spoon. So, what have we done? We've got our bottle. We've got our bottle cap. We've got a little bit of tape on there holding it in place. And now we've got this black thread. And this is exactly why I'm wearing a black shirt, okay? Because you're going to find that unless you're in an operating room or some crazy well-lit place, that now that the thread is going to perfectly blend in against your black shirt. Okay. Now, another thing I want to point out to you right now is never do you pull the thread across. The thread is never seen. Most of the time, the bottle is directly in front of the path of the thread. Okay. And that's an important thing to remember too. Apart from black thread, you might want, I experimented with it for a few years, is a very clear fishing line, very thin, and then take a black marker to it, okay? I've still found it shines ultimately, even if you deaden it. I've taken a black marker to it and then a gentle sandpaper even on top of that. And I still find that in some situations it flashes in a way that black thread, especially against the black cotton here, black will never flash, okay? So, now, what I need to do now, really the last prep ready to go here, and this is what makes the trick, I think, a perfect opening trick, or it's a perfect trick for a house party or a really special gig that you want to kind of do something crazy and have a souvenir at the end, is I'm now going to take the thread, the other end of the thread, about 2 foot, and this is the experimental part, and let's see, I'm going to put it right here, on one of my buttons, okay? I'm going to wrap the thread around the button. Now what's cool about that, here we go. Okay, I've done a couple. Let's see how this is looking. Is this okay? I'm going to experiment a bit more. And what's nice about this is once you start wrapping, you just keep wrapping it around and around and around. It's going nowhere, okay? Until you get the distance you want. So, the distance I want, okay, is I want that when I hold it close to me, okay, this is when I hold the bottle relatively close to my body, you have that bottle cap hanging around on the bottom, okay, which I love, okay? Now, as soon as I extend my arm, I want to do this from the side here, as soon as I extend my arm out to here, what happens is the bottle, and it's still a little long for me, I'm going to shorten in a second, but it pulls the bottle cap from the bottom up to around the neck, right behind your fingers, okay? And like I said, still a little long for me, so let me take a moment here. And this is the kind of experimentation you're going to do too. But what's nice about this is once you get the distance you want, how's that looking? That's pretty good actually. So now you can clearly see, there's the bottle cap in the bottom of the bottle. They can hear it, they can see it, okay? But just by extending my arms, of course, no sound, okay? Or I should say it's tucked up in there. And the bottle is obviously empty. I mean, that's crazy. The bottle is obviously empty one moment, and then the next, of course, if I want the cap to reappear, all I have to do is bring this back towards my body, and now it's down the bottom. So without magnets and without any gimmick bottle, or really even a gimmick bottle cap, okay, because it's just a little bit of tape on there, it's not like it was specially drilled, I can create this amazing illusion. The last thing I need for this is my second bottle cap. Now I'm good to go, okay? Now I can literally start my routine with holding this out, okay, by my, behind the fingers. I can start like this, and so you can literally kind of start in this position. This is here, okay, you got your bottle cap here. And all I'm gonna do is finger palm it. It's that simple. I'm just gonna start it in my finger palm, hit the bottom, and as soon as I hit the bottom, I'm gonna bring the bottle closer to myself. And what you're gonna get, of course, is this perfect illusion of a bottle cap, boom, going right inside a bottle, okay? They can see it there, they can hear it, and now if I want it to pass down through the bottom, create the illusion of that, all I have to do is come over and move my hands forward and give a bit of a shake like this, and boom, just like that, look. The cap, the bottle, nothing to see. Okay, nothing to see here, nothing in your hands. It's a perfect melt through, perfect penetration. So you can do that once, and then I say, look, I'm going to, so first you start with the bottle and the cap, and you smacked it and went inside. Then you give it a shake, it comes outside. And then you can either do finger palm again, okay? Or you can thumb palm, which is just to take it and roll your fingers and put it in thumb palm. You combine that together, and this looks exactly like the cap just melted through the bottom of the bottle again, okay? So it happens once, it happens twice, okay? So you can do the third, you can also take this, and if you have it on the table for a moment here, you can pretend to pick it up and drop it in your lap, say if you're sitting, and then have that pet. Now, as for the ending, the all-important ending, you want to make sure the distance is such. So what you want to be able to do now, having had it penetrate there, is as you move the bottle forward one last time, you're essentially going to pull the thread free of the tape, okay? Now, depending on how firmly you put it on there, I put it not too firmly, so just by doing that, okay, there. The thread is now hanging off my shirt, straight down, black on black. Okay, there's absolutely nothing to see in the bottle except for the impossible bottle cap. And because there's just the tiniest little bit of tape on the cap, you can't even see that through the bottle. So I've been creating tricks and trying to come up with cool stuff for many, many years. And this is something that took me a few years to develop. It may look simple now, and like so many things, when you practice, there's so many dead ends. I can't tell you, between the magnet stuff I tried, and I tried at one point, I did a spray glue all over the cap so it would stick to the side when I shook it, and I couldn't control that. So many variables, and now I have exactly, as I told you in the preview of this is something which beautifully creates the illusion of a cap going inside a bottle, then the cap coming out, then the cap going back inside, and then you can hand this out at the end. Your hands are empty, your sleeves were up the whole time. They can examine the bottle, they can examine the cap. This has gotta be one of the craziest close-up magic souvenirs you can come up with. As always, thank you so much for your belief in my magic and for purchasing this product. And please, one of the great things I'm finding through YouTube and things, as my fan base continues to grow, every now and then a fan will send me a videotape of him or her performing the trick for a live audience, and with awesome reactions. So please put in the work on this. And if you want to send me a videotape of you performing this for some friends, I would love to look at it. And in fact, send me a videotape of you performing for some friends, and I'm sure I'll get back to you and suggest some sort of little prize for going to the trouble. Thank you so much. Have a blast of blowing minds with this very, very cool trick. I hope you really enjoy Unbroken.